What is going on around here? A question that, unfortunately, leaves many middle or high-level managers stumbling in the dark. If you disagree, just ask yourself this question. Is there one central place where I can see the status of our key initiatives, and if necessary, zoom into the details so that I can make an informed decision? Most likely, you rely on manual status reporting out of PowerPoint and Excel, or you have the information, but it's spread across multiple systems, and you just can't make sense of it. We've all been there. And that's why we took this overly ambitious goal to solve this problem for everyone, once and for all. However, you need a system that has literally hundreds of features and essentially the ability to replace 3 different categories of tools: project and portfolio management tools, objective and key results, or OKR tools, work management tools. Combining 3 large tool categories into one is not an easy job. We had to spend more than 10 years of relentless product development to get to where we are. And the result? A truly one-of-a-kind system. This powerhouse is not only remarkably flexible, but also fast and easy to use. It is designed from the ground up to support lean portfolio management and agile at scale. But at the same time, it is not prescriptive and gives you the ultimate freedom to implement your current processes. It offers an enormous amount of functionality at a fraction of the cost of what you'd pay for only one of the tools it replaces. Last but not least, it caters to any team and department across your organization without any bias, remaining entirely agnostic to specialized terminology. The following demo is just a quick glimpse of what the Businessmap software platform can do, but it's still a great resource to showcase its capabilities. Let's get started.
Starting from the first category, nowadays there are hundreds of project portfolio management tools on the market. However, most of them are usually built around deterministic management and resource utilization, which doesn't work in a less predictable environment. They are complex, with a steep learning curve. They cost a lot of money, and lack thorough, lean, and agile support. To overcome these drawbacks, we focus on lightweight, lean portfolio management that allows companies to visualize and easily manage end-to-end flow of work across the organization. Focus on delivering value quickly and predictably as a risk management approach. Promote lightweight planning. Adapt to changes and easily tailor our solution to an existing organization structure, not the other way around. Now, let's see how we do that in practice. Speaking of managing project portfolios, there is one question that often looms over the others. What's going on around here? That's why we aim to provide you with a central place where you can have a bird's-eye view over your most important work initiatives. In practice, we achieve this through the Initiatives and Outcomes dashboard. But first, what is an initiative in our platform? You can think of it as a project, product, customer order, strategic goal, or any other big piece of work. The dashboard shows you the initiatives across different places in your account, and you can easily see their hierarchy of lower-level initiatives or projects across teams. On the right-hand side, you will notice indicators that visualize the work progress of every initiative and show its status. These statuses are calculated automatically based on your current and expected progress. You can also easily see if something within the hierarchy is at risk or off track, and pay attention to potential problems as soon as possible. You must have also noticed the pie chart view above the table. There, we provide you with a visual summary of how many initiatives have a specific work progress status. With a single click, you can filter to see only those initiatives whose work progress is at risk or off track. We built this setup to give you an overview across the moving parts in your organization. Now, let's uncover how you can build these initiatives and the hierarchies between them. Before we move on, keep in mind that the Initiatives and Outcomes dashboard visualizes work data which is automatically populated by boards within your account. For example, the Ensure Top-Level Product Performance initiative is part of the Product Development Board. Opening the board, You can see it in the top-level workflow where the initiative actually lives. Meanwhile, the dashboard shows an aggregated status of multiple initiatives across the work hierarchy, suitable for comprehensive executive summary. Now, let's see how you can manage work across the entire organization. To do this, every board resides within a management or team workspaces, where a connection between project portfolios and execution activities happens in practice. Going back to a board, you will notice that it is built of workflows. Every board can have an initiatives, timeline, and cards workflows. The workflow determines the type of work items that reside in it. For example, both the timeline and initiatives workflows consist of initiatives. The only difference is that the timeline workflow provides you with a calendar view. If you need a more precise visualization of your start and end date. The third type is the cards workflow, which consists of cards that represent daily work and can be either independent or part of an initiative. Both initiatives and cards can form unlimited levels of hierarchies through parent-child link relationships. They are visible under Links Overview inside the details of every card or initiative. As you can see, this particular work item is a child of a bigger initiative and a parent of several lower-level work items. Now, let's move to a management board on a management workspace and demonstrate how you can create such hierarchy from the highest to the lowest level. Think of a management board as a portfolio hub, which connects multiple other team or management boards together so you can visualize work across the organization. In this case, suppose that the management board represents the R&D portfolio management, and you've connected the boards of 3 teams: product development, data analysis, and quality assurance. With a simple drag and drop, you can break down a large R&D project into smaller team initiatives, respectively, for the 3 teams. Think of this action as requesting work from these teams, so the large R&D project can be completed. Once that's done, let's move back to the board of the product development team, where the requested initiative will be present in the backlog of their timeline workflow. The product development team can further break down their team initiative into lower-level work items, or cards, that represent the actual work which needs to be executed. Once the team plans their project and has enough available capacity to pull one of the cards in progress, the team initiative will automatically get started. In turn, the high-level project on the R&D management board will automatically move to In Progress, which signals that the actual work on the project has been started. Keep in mind that the status of the initiatives across the entire hierarchy is determined by the status of the work at the lowest level. This eliminates the need for manual status reporting because the boards are always up to date. As the team completes work on their board, this will be reflected in the work progress indicator of both the team-level initiative and the R&D project on the management board. This structure works across unlimited levels of boards and helps you stay on top of your priorities across all organizational layers. As you define your hierarchical structure, it's time to start applying some lean principles to optimize your project flow. That's why one practice we recommend is to limit work in progress on an initiative level. This is a major differentiator in our platform compared to almost any other tool, because we give you the means to focus on the most important initiatives at a time and deliver up to 3 times faster with the existing workforce. Let's see how that works. First, let's set a limit of 2 for the In Progress section of the management board. In our software, You can do this on every board by editing the specific workflow and setting up the limit under a chosen column or lane. From the settings on the left, you can also choose to allow or deny exceeding the limit. Let's choose the Always Deny option. Going back to the board, you will see a visual indication that the limit has been applied. In case one of the teams decides to pull work on their board, which would trigger new work to be also started on the management board, and thus violate the highest level limit, the action will not be permitted. Moreover, to prioritize your initiatives on a management level, you can apply a permanent card order. Let's do that by editing the workflow. In this case, let's order the initiatives in the Requested section on the management board from the highest to the lowest priority. Saving the changes and going back to the board, let's move the two initiatives from the backlog to the Requested section. You will see how they are automatically ordered by priority, and you will not be able to reorder them manually. Combining this concept with policies such as arrival and departure rules unlocks complete flow governance across your hierarchy. Let's see how. First, think of the arrival and departure rules as conditions work needs to meet to enter or exit given process areas. You can set them up from the board policies in your board sidebar. One use case out of many possibilities is to ensure that your teams focus their attention on the next most important initiative in the line. To do that, we set a departure policy on the requested area that has two conditions: position in cell to be less than 2, and priority to be either high or critical. In other words, this will ensure that only the initiative with the highest priority in the requested queue can exit it. In this case, that's Product Initiative 1. For example, if the data analysis team decides to pull child work that is linked to Product Initiative 2, the action will not be executed. That happens because Product Initiative 2 has a lower priority than Product Initiative 1, which means it cannot be started first. Moving on, our platform has been built on the premise to cover unpredictable environments, unlike many other traditional tools. We do that by focusing on real data, such as the current status of work known as probabilistic management versus estimation-based or deterministic management. To put the probabilistic planning in action, you can use our various set of analytics, where, under forecasting, you will find the Monte Carlo Simulations. With Monte Carlo, how many, for example, you can derive probabilities of how many work items you can deliver by a specific point in time. For example, let's see how many work items this team can deliver in the next 30 days. Based on this particular data set, the simulation shows that there's slightly above an 85% chance for 58 or more work items to be finished in the next 30 days. With Monte Carlo when, on the other hand, the logic is reversed. You can derive probabilities until what data a given number of work items can be completed. So let's see how long it will take for 50 work items to be done. Based on the historical data set of this team, there is almost an 85% chance for 50 work items to be completed until the 31st of July. To ease this process for project planning, we've integrated the simulations inside every initiative on your boards. The only prerequisite is to ensure that your initiative is broken down into child work items. Then, inside the Forecast tab, the system will provide you with a forecast based on the historical completion rate of previously finished lowest level work items, similar to the ones constituting the current initiative. With the primary and secondary dimensions, you can specify what criteria those previously finished work items should meet. You can also instruct the system what level of certainty to use when building the forecast, and use the scale parameter to define either greater or lesser complexity of the work constituting the initiative. Moving to the advanced setting, the system allows you to plan for additional scope with the additional cards field, as well as take into account your process outliers. When you run the simulation again, you will see 4 different scenarios for the duration of the work at hand, which you can use to adjust your plans as necessary. Occasionally, when managing and planning complex work, there might be inconsistencies across the hierarchy. To help you identify those, our system uses smart notifications. For example, if the deadline of an initiative is set before the deadlines of its children's work items, the issue will be reflected with an exclamation mark next to the initiative's deadline. Furthermore, if the size of the initiative is lower than the cumulative sizes of its children, this will activate another smart notification to pay attention to and resolve the issue as soon as possible. With this, let's move to the second part of the demo, covering the OKR tools category. For your lean portfolio management to succeed, you need to take a holistic approach. This means establishing a strong connection between your company-level strategy and the different teams responsible for its execution. This is where the second category of OKR tools comes in. From our experience, the traditional solutions in this category focus explicitly on goals but don't cover the work, are often perceived as yet another system to be taken care of, rely on fragile integrations to populate the data, leading to more maintenance and higher costs, even if OKRs are automated. That's why we take a different approach, where OKRs are not separate from the work, but are clearly connected to it. To achieve this, we will show you how every outcome is part of an initiative. Our platform provides you with indications about both goals and work progress, so you can connect strategy with execution and ensure teams work on what matters. Having said that, let's see how you can put this in practice. To enable strategic management within our platform, you can use the concept of measurable outcomes that live inside your initiatives. If you're working with a popular goal-setting framework, such as objectives and key results, you can think of an initiative as your objective and outcomes as key results. Still, measurable outcomes can be utilized to put any goal-setting framework in place. For example, to achieve a main objective such as expand company profit across key markets, you may want to increase revenue, decrease expenses, and increase customer retention rate. Within every initiative in the platform, you can easily add a new outcome from the dedicated option. To create it, keep in mind that you need to select a custom field which the outcome is going to track. If you don't have a specific custom field, you can always create a new one. As you're getting closer to achieving your goal, you can simply update your outcome's current value. This will automatically increase the status indicator of the outcome. Every outcome has a trend chart, which helps you assess how you're moving over time and what's the projection until your deadline. Especially when managing long-term goals, often you can have intermediate targets which you want to reach first. This is where the concept of checkpoints comes into play. You can create a new checkpoint from the plus icon and configure its settings. As the checkpoint appears on your outcomes timeline, The baseline on the trend chart will bend to take into account the linear projection towards the new checkpoint. Once you're done setting up all your outcomes, their current statuses will form the status of the entire objective, which is visible on a closed initiatives view. You can then compare the outcome's progress with the work progress of the initiative and use those insights for decision making. Keep in mind that teams can have their own outcomes on their team boards. Visualizing team-level OKRs and aligning them with their higher-level department or company goals. Just like the work progress of the projects in your portfolio, all information about your goals is consolidated inside the Initiatives and Outcomes dashboard. The difference is that this time, we will be answering the "what's going on around here" question in terms of the progress of your goals. To do that, under the Outcomes Progress and Projection columns, you can gauge which objectives are either currently or projected to be at risk, off track, trending, or on track. You will also see warning signs next to their statuses in case there are problematic outcomes. With a single click on the status indicators, you can detect risk and see the actual outcome of an objective which has a specific status. In case your outcome has checkpoints, they will be visible here too. As the work progress of an objective is also present inside the dashboard, this enables you to derive valuable insights across all of your most important initiatives, if what you're currently working on actually brings you to the result you're after. The pie chart view allows you to see the goal status in a visual format, per objective and outcome. For example, clicking on one of the slices from the left pie chart will filter all objectives which have a specific status. In turn, clicking on one of the slices from the right pie chart will filter all outcomes with a given status. Furthermore, the dashboard is flexible to add different data properties such as boards to filter data by teams and workspaces by departments. To take your reporting to the next level, keep in mind that you can expose your data to different BI solutions. Beyond that, our platform also allows you to take your analysis to an even more granular level and visualize status reports per initiative or workflow of initiatives. Going back to a board, from the context menu of a given initiative, you can quickly assess its status. The difference here is that you can see the complete hierarchy of a given initiative, including the lowest level work items that constitute its children and grandchildren initiatives. For your convenience, you can also monitor the entire workflow status of multiple objectives that are part of a given workflow. This allows you to stay on top of your priorities and act whenever something starts running off its intended course. Lastly, any lean portfolio management implementation would not be complete without managing the daily work that turns portfolios and strategies into tangible results. That's why our platform covers the work management tools category too. While focusing on polished UI design, most traditional tools have limitations in visualizing sophisticated workflows, cover single teams instead of the entire service delivery, lack thorough support of lean, agile analytics to uncover optimization opportunities. That's why we will demonstrate how our platform helps you visualize your service delivery on Kanban boards, track cross-team dependencies, spot process bottlenecks, analyze lean, agile metrics to optimize your workflow and deliver faster. And while we've already touched upon setting up your workflows, let's take a closer look at how your teams can mature them even further. You can start by creating a new workspace from the plus button next to My Workspaces. Let's create a new Team Workspace. Give it a name and add our first team board to it. The Team Workspace will appear on the home dashboard. Once you enter a team board, you will see the default view of a typical Kanban board for team operations. For your convenience, you can change the default background of a board to a different color or an image of your choice. Moving on, the User Management panel is where you can invite users, manage their roles, and access to boards. There are three main roles: the account owner, who has all rights across the account; workspace managers, who have full permissions to configure workspaces and boards they're assigned to; and regular users, who can get roles with predefined permissions to execute certain actions. You can read more about administration in our knowledge base. Now, let's explore how Kanban boards can help your teams manage work effortlessly. On every board, with a double click on a card's workflow, you can create cards for individual work items that have multiple properties. Each card contains a title, description, and other properties. Under Card fields, you can define the owner of a card, including co-owners. You can also set a deadline, define its size, and add tags. It is possible to add custom fields to a card and easily attach files. The Links Overview field is where you can see what other cards the current one is linked to. Furthermore, you can mark your cards with a specific type to distinguish between your work items. From the options in the upper right corner, you can specify the priority of the card and even apply a template to it. Every card also contains the following tabs: Subtasks, Comments, History, Metrics, and Links. In the Subtasks tab, you can add checklists of your work. Any subtask can be assigned to different users in your account. The Comments section is where you can collaborate with your team by leaving notifications or sending emails directly from the card. With the History tab, you can keep track of the activities that have happened on the card. The Metrics tab is where you can see how long the card has stayed in different parts of the workflow. The Links tab provides an overview of all the other cards linked to it. After you're done configuring the details of your card, you can choose how it appears on the board. To do so, access the Configure Card View menu from the right sidebar. Here, you can determine which card properties and fields to see on a closed card view for better visibility. For example, you could choose whether to see the deadline of a card, show its subtasks, as well as links in different formats. You can also use the Card Zoom switch to enable different board views. This comes in handy especially when dealing with a lot of work on a single board. To properly structure your work, it's important to mention the different types of link relationships. You can have parent-child links, which allow the creation of a hierarchical structure of your work. For example, the relationship between an initiative and a card would be parent-child. Successor-predecessor links, which allow you to visualize dependencies between multiple work items. You cannot start a successor card before you complete its predecessor. and relative link relationships between cards. If multiple cards belong to the same group of work items, but there is no hierarchy between them, you can link these cards with a relative link to group them together. Moving on, to create initiatives, use the initiatives workflow for your projects and double-click on the requested area. With a simple drag and drop, you can break down the team initiative into child cards. In this case, let's create 3 child cards for the initiative, which will serve as its lower-level work items. The child cards will be visualized on the initiative by little rectangles. Once you start working on a child card, the team initiative will automatically move to In Progress. Each initiative has a progress indicator, and as you complete child work, the progress indicator will increase. If you move all child cards to Done, then the entire initiative will be completed too. You can also create your initiatives on a timeline workflow to visualize them in a calendar view. Every timeline initiative contains fields where you can plan its start and end dates, as well as track the actual start and end dates. Keep in mind that the green vertical line shows the current date. And if your project is off track, the progress indicator will change color, visualizing the delay. To save time, you can quickly plan your timeline initiatives according to a given date by expanding or shrinking their slider. You can also change the timeline view to different time units for your convenience. When managing work, you might have a bunch of dependencies with other teams. To visualize them, you can use the Related Boards feature in the platform to link multiple Kanban boards together and track work across teams. To create a linked card, drag and drop a card from the current board to the other team board and choose what type of cross-team dependencies to establish. The work item will become visible on the responsible team board, which you can quickly access from the panel. Let's now suppose that the other team moves the linked work item in progress, and due to an impediment, they block it there. This action will become visible inside the panel on the first board too, allowing both teams to stay aware of what's going on with their work. When talking about blocking work, visualizing impediments and resolving issues is an essential part of workflow optimization. In our platform, you can easily apply stickers and blockers to your cards. Stickers are used to label a work item with given information, while blockers allow you to visualize impediments. The card tokens can be applied from the sidebar menu, and they can be customized to suit your scenario. You can also block a card from its context menu by selecting the option. When a child card of an initiative is blocked, the blocker will also become visible on the initiative. This allows teams to see what work needs their attention. If you wish to see only the blocked cards on your board, you can use the quick filters to set specific card filtering criteria, so you can visualize only those cards that have an impediment. And while using those functionalities lays the foundation of your team management, how can you actually configure your workflows? This is what we're looking at next. With the Edit Workflows functionality on top of every board, you can further mature your workflows. Let's start by changing the names of the default initiatives and cards workflows with something you might be using internally. For example, let's change the initiatives workflow to projects and the cards workflow to work items. Having the default workflows may be a good start, but if you need something more sophisticated, you can add multiple workflows to your board. You could do this from the Create New Workflow button, where you can create a cards, initiatives, or timeline workflow. If you wish, you can also copy an existing workflow from another board. Let's create a timeline workflow, where you can visualize initiatives in a roadmap. It will be placed at the top of your board, but you can rearrange the workflows based on your specific needs. Moving on, with the plus signs on a workflow, you can add multiple columns and subcolumns to it. For example, let's add a review column as part of your in progress area and below it, two subcolumns, ready for review and in review. Using the gear icon, you can apply different configurations to your process steps. For example, you can fill in a description of the Ready for Review stage that illustrates its intended use. Just below the description, you can also set exit criteria for the column. Think of the exit criteria as requirements that a work item needs to cover before you can move the card out of the current column. A basic example of exit criteria is attached documents. You can also define your column type. In this case, the Ready for Review column is a queue because work items are waiting. However, steps where team members are producing active work should be activity. You can also apply permanent card ordering per column, subcolumn, or cell based on various criteria by clicking on the filter icon. Let's say you want to have the work items with the highest priority on top of your queue. You could choose to order cards by priority, from highest to lowest. Keep in mind, there is a wide variety of other criteria you could select from for prioritization purposes. Apart from columns, the workflows can be separated horizontally by swim lanes. Swim lanes can be used to allow you to better visualize different types of work, classes of service, or priority. Let's rename the current default lane to Standard Work. And color it yellow so it's easy to distinguish it. You can also add a new swim lane on top called Expedite, which will be reserved only for urgent tasks. A very helpful feature you can use to edit your workflow is the merge function. For example, due to the urgent nature of the work in the Expedite section, you might want to have only one in progress column. Simply merge the cells to reflect this. One of the most crucial elements in the design of a Kanban board is setting work in progress limits to help teams optimize their flow. An easy way to do this is to click on the corresponding field next to Limit and enter the desired number of cards you want to allow. Let's set the limit for 1 for in progress. Moving to the clock icon, you can also apply service level expectations to the in progress and requested stages of your process, including swim lanes. This way, you can define how much time a card shall remain within a given column or lane. You have plenty of options, such as setting a maximum cycle time, defining time units, additional filters, and advanced settings for configuring your working days and hours. Keep in mind that you can measure the performance of your service level expectations with dedicated charts inside the software's analytics module. Lastly, let's take a look at how you can configure your cycle time, which is crucial for optimizing your process. With the Configure Cycle Time option above each workflow, you can define which columns to be included in the final cycle time calculation of a card. A good practice is to exclude the backlog and done areas. Let's now save the changes and see how those configurations apply to a board. Going back to a board, you can see everything we've just configured. A progress bar appears on a closed card view, visualizing the SLE we applied. If you move the card to the In Progress area, the system will indicate that you have reached the work in progress limit. If you move the card to Ready for Review, you will see how the exit criteria for the workflow area appears. We should note that you can move a card with unchecked exit criteria backwards if it needs rework, for example. However, it won't be possible to move the same card forward unless you check those criteria out. Let's now hover over the Ready for Review column to see what this stage is all about. Other than that, you can see that there is a permanent card order applied to the requested column. In other words, the system will automatically place an order for a given set of cards based on their priority level. To further mature your team's workflow, you can use arrival-departure rules to predefine what criteria work should meet to enter or depart from a given area of the board. These rules can be applied per board, workflow, column, lane, or cell. Imagine you have a lane within your workflow which is reserved for work requests made by another team. To ensure better prioritization of your work, you might add an arrival rule, which allows the creation of cards within that lane only if they have a deadline. In contrast to the arrival rules, you can create departure rules in order for work to depart a given work area. For example, imagine you have a workflow where work is handed off to another team. With a departure rule, you can set a condition that forbids the exit of cards from the current board if they are moved to the wrong team board. In this case, moving a card to Team Board D will not be permitted. To facilitate the management of your workflow, you can use the business rules which allow you to automate actions when certain events occur. To access the business rules, go to the Administration panel and select Business Rules. Let's choose to add a new rule. Here you can see all types of business rules you can create. We will use the Card is Created rule to put this into practice. Imagine you want to set critical priority to a card that is created in the Expedite swim lane and directly choose its owner. You need to specify the board area that matches your requirements. So when a card is created and the board is Team Board C, you can add a new property such as lane. Then you have to select the Expedite swim lane from the mini-map that appears. Next, you need to define the action following this rule. In this case, once the card is created, let's set its priority to critical. Then, let's also add a new action that automatically makes the owner of this card Nick. Once you exit the Business Rules panel and return to the board, you will see a spiral sign on the Expedite swim lane. This is a visual indicator that there are business rules applied to that area of the board. Now, let's create a new work item in the Expedite swim lane and demonstrate the business rule in action. As you see, the priority of the card changed by itself to critical, and the owner is Nick. This was just a very basic example of how to use business rules. In reality, there are thousands of actions that can be automated to help you save time. Finally, let's move to the last topic of our demo, or how to improve as a team continuously. Once you've visualized your workflow and gathered some delivery data, you can analyze your process with the Analytics module in the software. One of the many charts that you can use is the Cycle Time Heat Map. You can filter your data by different attributes such as lane name, priority, type, to see how much time work spent based on specific criteria in different process areas. Keep an eye on the red squares because they can reveal problematic areas within your process where work might be getting stalled. With the throughput chart, on the other hand, you can measure how much work your team delivers on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. Monitor the throughput trend to see if you're getting more or less efficient over time. That leads us to the end of our demo. However, keep in mind that even this is a small portion of what our platform has to offer, as the product intersects solutions for managing project portfolios, strategic execution, and team operations. We invite you to start your free trial and see what's possible for yourself.